The tale kicks off with Marcelino, a 30-year-old guy who's now delivering water gallons. He's pretty quiet and carries an air of mystery about him, hinting at a troubled past. Once a champion, his life has taken a turn for the dull and miserable. He picks up a part-time gig as a parking lot attendant since his old boss is retiring, and he takes over the booth he used to work in. One rainy night, he's sitting in the tiny pay booth, staring at a small TV when a girl unexpectedly pops in, acting all friendly even though he doesn't know her. When he asks her name, she seems taken aback, and he soon realizes she's blind and mistook him for his former boss. Marcelino fills her in on the retired guy, and she shares that she used to enjoy watching TV with him. Realizing the old man is gone, she apologizes and steps outside, but the rain keeps pouring, leaving her stuck in the cold. Feeling a bit empathetic, Marcelino invites her back into the booth to watch TV with him. Even though she can't see, she seems to enjoy the sounds of the show, almost like she's listening to a drama unfold. Marcelino quietly sits beside her, captivated by her presence. After the show wraps up, she hands him some food she made and asks him to take care of the night jasmine plant in the booth. This unexpected meeting brings a little brightness into his otherwise dreary life. Later at home, he eats the food she gave him and even shares some with his pet turtle, finally feeling motivated to make some changes in his life. The blind girl works in customer service, dealing with rude customers, but she hangs in there since it's her only option. Plus, there's a creepy boss who seems to have his eye on her. Meanwhile, Marcelino decides to swing by his old gym, where his coach is thrilled to see him, but the gym owner still holds a grudge against him. After winning the championship, Marcelino suddenly vanishes, leaving the gym owner, who had backed him wholeheartedly, feeling a huge loss. His coach takes him around the gym, where he bumps into an old rival who seems to have some unfinished business with him and challenges him to a sparring match. However, Marcelino doesn't seem to have his fighting spirit back yet. Frustrated by his lack of courage, the gym owner kicks him out. Meanwhile, the blind girl returns another night to catch the same TV drama. This time, she bombards Marcelino with questions about what's happening on screen, and he starts to feel a connection with her. When the show ends, he thanks her for the food by giving her a box of peaches. As she's about to leave, he learns her name is Younghwa. Despite her cheerful demeanor, life is tough for Younghwa as a blind person, and she lives alone. The next night, Marcelino anxiously waits for Younghwa. They enjoy the drama together again, and she becomes curious about his face. After the show, she heads home, but a reckless driver nearly hits her, causing her to sprain her leg. Marcelino rushes her to the hospital, and then carries her up the many stairs to her place, shocked that she navigates them daily. At her home, she asks for his help with a clogged drain, which turns out to be caused by her cute panties. Embarrassed, she gives him 2 concert tickets as a thank-you gift. Since Marcelino has no friends, they decide to go together, and both are thrilled. On the day of the concert, they have a blast and enjoy dinner afterward. Younghwa used to live a normal life until an accident took her sight and her parents away. When she tries to dig into Marcelino's background, he suddenly gets tense and cold, even making a sarcastic comment about some food she spilled on her dress. The vibe shifts and Younghwa decides to call it a night. Marcelino walks her to her door and apologizes for messing things up. Just before she goes inside, he gathers his courage to share a bit of his story. He used to be a boxer but got into a lot of trouble in his youth, which is why he's now just a water gallon delivery guy. He's been working on improving himself but felt ashamed to open up about his past. The next day at work, Younghwa's boss calls her into his office and gives her a gift, trying to make a move on her. This makes her uncomfortable, so she politely excuses herself. After work, instead of hanging out with Marcelino like usual, she heads straight home, leaving him feeling down since he was hoping to make things right after their awkward date. After thinking it over, Marcelino decides to meet with his old coach and the gym owner. He's quiet and looks defeated as the gym owner gets angry about his unexplained absence. Finally, he finds the strength to admit, with a sense of shame, that he spent 4 years and 3 months in prison. After his boxing career, he fell into a life of crime as a debt collector, which led to a violent incident that got him arrested. The man he attacked survived but is still recovering in a Catholic hospital, and Marcelino visits him regularly to make amends. They've formed a bond and moved past their troubled history. The hospital's sister even gives him a little gift for his girlfriend. He doesn't have a girlfriend, so there's really only one person he's thinking about giving it to. One night, Junghwa heads home, but as she opens her door, she gets a shock when she hears someone behind her. It's her boss, and he's clearly had too much to drink, stumbling in with a bottle of wine. Junghwa tries to keep things polite since she needs her job, especially given her situation. But things take a turn for the worse, and she asks him to leave. Instead, he insists and even gifts her a necklace. When she turns it down, he loses it and tries to force himself on her. Luckily, Marcelino shows up just in time, and takes down the creepy boss while Junghwa stands there in shock. He tries to comfort her, but she's upset about the potential job loss. She can't afford to be without it. Marcelino assures her he'll look after her, but she feels that just adds to her troubles and tells him to back off. With nothing more to say, he leaves her alone and heads back to work. Things get a bit awkward between them, but Marcelino can't shake the feeling of needing to check on her. So for the next few days, he secretly follows her to make sure she's all right. One evening, Junghwa seems to have relaxed a bit and approaches him, suggesting a quick getaway for the weekend. Marcelino is all in. On the trip day, he surprises her with a cute little dog he adopted to keep her company. The three of them head out into nature, chatting by the river and collecting pebbles as mementos. They each keep one to remember each other by, marking the beginning of their lovely relationship. With a new purpose, Marcelino returns to the gym and trains hard for the MMA tournament, winning most of his fights and finding success. He goes ahead and gives Junghwa's house a makeover to make it cozier for her. Their life together is pretty vibrant now since they have each other to lean on. After a while, Junghwa takes him to her parents' memorial site to introduce him. She opens up about her family and shares how she lost them in a car accident. That's when Marcelino realizes that the same accident led to his arrest. It hits him hard that Junghwa lost her sight, and both her parents because of him. This revelation leaves him heartbroken, but he can't bring himself to tell her. As time passes, Junghwa's vision deteriorates. The doctor informs her that her sight is becoming increasingly blurred, and will soon fade to complete darkness. She urgently needs a transplant, but there are no available donors. The doctor suggests that Marcelino should consider buying a donor eye, which is quite expensive. Desperate for cash, he turns to an old rival for a loan, who introduces him to a shady boss. This leads to Marcelino signing up for an illegal fight in Thailand. He gets a down payment that covers Junghwa's surgery, but now he's stuck with a dangerous fight ahead. He keeps this a secret from Junghwa, telling her he has savings for the operation. Initially, she hesitates, feeling guilty about her parents' death due to her blindness. But when Marcelino asks if she wants to see their future kids' faces, she finally agrees. He stays with her at the hospital until the surgery is about to start, then sneaks off to Thailand without telling her. When he gets there, he finds out that the fight is a brutal cage match where one fighter has to pass out to end it. Some rich spectators are watching live, and it's also being streamed to the underground gambling scene. He puts in a lot of effort to stay alive in the ring, and surprisingly, ends up winning. This infuriates his old rival, who had bet against him. The prize for the fight is a diamond that he needs to sneak back to Korea. Just as he's about to leave Thailand, his rival and his crew show up to stab him and grab the diamond. Meanwhile, in Korea, Junghwa has just finished her surgery and regained her sight. She waits for Marcelino, but he never shows up, and she has to move out of her place. Right before she leaves, a package arrives for Marcelino from the Catholic hospital. Curious, she heads there and meets the injured Marcelino and the nuns, who recognize her as his girlfriend since he talks about her a lot. After hearing about his accident, Junghwa starts to piece together what really happened. She thinks it over and seems to find some closure regarding the incident. Life continues, and she spends her time making sculptures in her workshop, trying to recreate Marcelino's face, even though she's never actually seen it. Other than that, her life is pretty stable, and she often volunteers at a hospital. Unexpectedly, Marcelino ends up being one of the patients there. She gives him a massage without realizing who he is, while he tries to stay quiet, wanting to keep his distance. His body is in bad shape, and he doesn't want to be a burden. After he leaves the hospital, he stops by Junghwa's shop, buys a vase with a night jasmine plant, and takes back his pet turtle. Outside, his dog recognizes him and runs over. Junghwa realizes he's the patient from the hospital, and apologizes as he walks away. When she returns to the store, she notices that the pet turtle is gone and the dog is barking non-stop. She asks a staff member if anyone on crutches has been around. Suddenly, it hits her that it must be Marcelino. She rushes outside in a panic to look for him but comes up empty. After thinking it over, she heads to the spot where they had gone on a previous adventure. As luck would have it, they end up crossing paths there. The story wraps up with their joyful reunion, and they live happily ever after. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video.